Hey everybody, we're looking for some sponsors. If you're a business owner and you want to support the cause, please contact me at reformgangsters@gmail.com.
Well, through his whole life. When he was in the Witness Protection Program, he got arrested in Seattle for selling cocaine and went to prison. He was, everybody that isn't like me. I got into recovery and sort of changed. These guys had no interest in changing. They did what they did. They cooperated and went into the Witness Protection Program, but they didn't want to change. They wanted to continue on their way. I mean, there's still people out there now that are doing that. They cooperated and they still think they're gangsters. So.
How about the part where Sorvino gives the money to Henry and says, "Now I got to turn my back on you"? Any truth to that?
I think there might be some truth to that. I mean, I know definitely Paulie chased him, that's for sure. Paul definitely chased him at the end when he got arrested for the drugs, because that was the unwritten, that was the rule that nobody followed. But some old time, like guys like Paulie, guys like my father, the rules were the rules. And Paulie Barry didn't need guys around him selling drugs. He didn't need the money, and he had, like I said earlier, he had Kennedy Airport. I mean, he had money coming in. Like, he didn't need that. He didn't need Henry around him selling coke. And he chased him. It's funny because when after Henry, cooperated and testified against Paulie, and Paulie went to prison, he was in prison with my father in Missouri, in the federal prison hospital, actually where John Gotti died, in Springfield, Missouri. But before John got there, years before that, my father had his larynx removed. He had cancer. And they sent my father there for speech therapy because he had to learn how to talk with his esophagus, because he had the hole in his throat. And when he got to Springfield, Missouri, Paulie Vario was there, because he was sick too. So they sent him to Springfield. And of course, him and my father were tight. And so they hung out together, and we started visiting them together. And it was me and Tony Lee started going to Missouri with Pete the Killer, who was the guy that allegedly shot Tommy DeSimone. They mentioned him in the movie too, Pete the Killer. Danny Cateo was one of Paulie's main guys. Paulie's son, one of Paulie's kids. We would all fly to Missouri together, and we would visit my father and Paulie. We would call them down into the visiting room, because back then you could all sit together, and we would have a big visit. And my father used to break Paulie Vario's balls all the time and tell him, "I told you that fucking Henry was no good. I never liked him." And Paulie would tell my father, "Please, Andy, don't break my balls now over this guy." And my father would always tease Paulie Vario about Henry, because my father never liked Henry. And it's comical because one time we all went to Missouri. This is a funny story. We go to Missouri, so now we're in Springfield, Missouri. We're all from New York. We all got accents. I mean, we're all mob guys. We're dressed like mob guys, right? And we're in Springfield, Missouri. And we go to this restaurant to eat dinner. There was about 8 of us. I don't know. There was a couple of us, right? Maybe 6 of us. Me and Tony Lee and like 4 guys, Paul, Pete the Killer, Danny Cateo, and a couple of other guys. And all wise guys. And we're in this restaurant and we're eating. And the next day we go to the visit, and they had the local paper, and it was on the front page of the local paper that the New York Mafia invaded Springfield, Missouri. And they had an article in there that we were all in this restaurant eating dinner, and, because of who we were visiting. And they had an article in the Springfield, like the local paper, "Mafia invades Springfield, Missouri." Yeah, crazy. Yeah. So, Henry was getting followed by a helicopter. So years later, my father, we had a big policy operation, which is, now it's called the lottery. But before the government stole it from the mob, stole it from us and renamed it the lottery, it was called policy. It was called numbers, the number game. And we had a major number business. And we had a major runner in Glen Cove, Long Island. So every Monday, my friend Carl and I, who ran the business for my father, would drive out to Glen Cove to straighten out with this guy, because he was such a big earner, this guy, that we serviced him. Like, we didn't just send anybody to service him. We serviced him, so he felt loved, Yeah. So we serviced him. So once Monday, I'm in the car and I tell my friend Carl, I go, you know, Carl, not for nothing, but every fucking Monday we're driving to meet this guy and I see a fucking helicopter, right? So he looks at me, goes, what are you back on that shit again? You know, he goes, what do you think? This is Goodfellas? You know, and he's breaking and I'm telling you, Carl, every Monday I see a helicopter. He goes, please, what are you kidding me? Forget. He goes, what do you think? This is Goodfellas? And we laughed it off. You know, we laughed it off. About, I don't know, 2 or 3 months later, we get indicted. We get indicted for a state RICO, which was for this number ring, right? Ongoing criminal enterprise with gambling, and we get indicted, and then we get all the discovery. You know, we get all our discovery because when you get indicted, the government has to give you all the discovery. So now we're in our lawyer's office, this lawyer called Ronnie Rubenstein. We're in his office and he has boxes of the discovery, right? All the material. And he's looking through the file. And then he finds a paper, a document, and he goes, what's this? He goes, aerial surveillance. He goes, are they kidding me? They followed you with a helicopter. I told you I saw a helicopter. So, I mean, that's the lengths they went to get us, all because we were, you know, around John Gotti and my father. So they went to all these lengths for numbers, for writing numbers, nonviolent writing. You know how much money it cost New York State to put a helicopter in the sky to follow me? Just for numbers. This is the lengths. These are the lengths they went to get us because of John Gotti and Fat Andy. These are the lengths that they went to. And I went to prison for that.
Yeah, but I answered this before in a previous show, but did Tommy really shine shoes as a young kid?
He was a kid, yeah. You know, but everybody saw, you know, there was a time when everybody signed shoes back in East New York, Brooklyn, Canarsie. It was a big thing, you know, and especially we lived so close to Kennedy Airport, so we would get the people off I even had a shoe box. You know, and I didn't shine, you know, like, you know, it was just a thing kids did, especially kids like Tommy who, you know, their parents didn't have a lot of money, but, you know, listen, Charlie Wagons, who was that straightened out my father and John Gotti, was a tattoo artist in Coney Island. I mean, you know, he was a tattoo artist in Coney Island. So yeah, Tommy shined shoes, but a lot of kids back then shined shoes. It wasn't like degrading. It's just something they did. Like kids would deliver newspapers, kids shined shoes.